.75, .5,
Happy
.25.
New Year!
Happy New Year! Started in the fall. Now where you are, I couldn't know. I'm falling. I'm falling. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the final podcast for season 7. And we are starting to wrap everything up here. Grand finals is on Saturday. And
Woo.
what a season. And I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Bubbly Reaper. Bubbly, how are you doing?
That was a big hype intro for me. I don't know if I'm a myth or a legend, but I guess I'm a guy. I'm, I'm just hanging out here, the late night podcast, talking with you, Dan. How are you doing?
You know what? I'm doing a-okay. Even though one of my teams lost tonight, I still got a team in the grand finals, and I know you can say the
Same.
same. Yeah.
For the first time ever in my 4 seasons as a GM, I can say I have a grand finals team.
Well, congratulations to you, Bubbly, on that.
Thank you.
But we will get to that. But in the meantime, let's start off with the lowest of the low, the worst players in Nemesis history, in the league that they're in, Novice. So, Mr. Bubbly, Ignite and Whelps, we have in the grand finals.
Yo.
What are your thoughts on the Whelps run to this grand finals?
I absolutely love the Whelps run because they were the team to beat like all season in Novice. Everyone thought they'd be the 1 seed. They ended up as the 3 seed coming into playoffs with like last end of the season falling off a little bit. But because they were the 3rd seed, that first quarterfinal matchup with Whelps and Ninjas, I thought was such a banger matchup. Like that was grand finals material already. Then they came in today, when we're recording this on Wednesday, and they swept Frost, which, they're just looking that much better coming into grand finals.
Yeah, I wasn't, I'm not really a fanboy of the Whelps because, they beat my Frost team. But overall, I do think they had a really good season. I don't think they're as solid as people think they are. I do think they are a bit shaky, overall. And I'll talk about that a little bit more once we talk about predictions for the grand finals and stuff. But on the other side of things, Ignite coming in as the 10th overall seed, moving their way up to the 8th once they get into the playoff bracket. And they got in by a rule saying, a certain amount of teams can come from the East, some can come from the West. So they kind of lucked out on that a little bit, Bubbly. But just starting off here in the play-ins, where they started against Acceleration, they swept Acceleration in their first match, and they went up against the Fusion in their second match. So they swept both those games, and then they ended up as the 8th seed. Continuing on from that, they had to play against the 1 seed in Pawns. They also swept them. So at that point, I'm thinking to myself, they're going to win it all. I already seen the team and how they were playing, even before the play-ins, because they played against Frost and all the other teams. They've been beating everybody. So I'm a fanboy of Ignite, even though I am a cold guy myself, even though that happened. But just today also, they played against the Spitfires, the former champions of Novice. They beat them in a 4-2 fashion, and then they're going against the Whelps Saturday night. So, Mr. Bubbly, I got a question to ask you.
I got an answer.
What is your prediction for the grand finals for Novice?
You know, as much as I love the Whelps, and you said they weren't as dominant, and I definitely see that. They had some issues that weren't super consistent, but like I still think they'll take a game or two. It might even be a game 7 because I think Whelps are still a better team than Spitfires were for that Ignite Spitfires semifinals. But it's hard to vote against Ignite, who has not lost a series since literally June. So I think it's gonna be Ignite. I'm gonna say 4-2.
That is interesting, but I'm going to make a bolder prediction, Bubbly. I'm going to go 4-1 in favor of Ignite winning the championship. Bring it home for the boys and give Firestorm their first dub ever.
You were hyping them all up. I thought you were gonna predict a sweep for the first one.
I was thinking about it, but you have to give respect to the Whelps of how they made it this far and the teams they've played against the Ninjas. Also, the sweeping Frost. I have to give them a little bit credit. I truly think though that Ignite's just gonna wipe the floor. They're probably Whelps. Honestly, they might get lucky and win a game. I'm predicting just one game at that, if that.
They
That's a bold
might
of
get
I
lucky and win a game.
yes. I feel like it's gonna be something stupid. Personally, I think Ignite's gonna clean the fourth Whelps though.
So you saying Spitfires are a better team than Whelps, you think?
I do think that.
All right. Interesting,
I
interesting
I
opinion.
I do think that. Spit. I mean, granted, you have Jorbridge on Spitfires. He talks a lot of smack. I wouldn't say he's good. He's not bad, but I also think it's a decent team. I do think though the Spitfires coming towards the end of the season were actually a better team than Whelps. I just don't think Whelps are that. I mean, they're solid, but I feel like they have a whole lot of issues if they're on their back foot. Bubbly. I feel like if they're on defense, they're not going to hold much longer,
Yeah.
especially with Ignite's offense and how good they are. So I got Ignite in 5, maybe even 4, but I'm a stick with 5.
I don't know. You're saying you're worried about their defense, but we saw today when they played Frost that they came in knowing Frost had a good offense, so they're like, we'll just play offense better than they do. We saw some crazy high scoring games. I think first game was like 7 goals from Welps. Like you're worried about Ignite's offense, but Welps' offense, I think can keep up for at least 2 games.
We'll see what happens. I just feel like the Whelps defense isn't all that. Like we were talking about 7 goals from the Whelps. I mean, if they're scoring a lot, it doesn't mean they're on their defensive half, though. It means they're on the offensive half. And also, that first game, I know they let up a ton of goals too. The first half the game, I think there were 7 total goals, 3, 4 Whelps at that point in time, which that's a lot of goals to be given up, especially in a semifinal game.
This is true.
So,
This is true.
so that is my opinion on the matter. That's my hot take. Ignite taking it in 5. Hot take, get it?
4 or 5.
4 or 5. I'm
refuse to laugh
predicting.
at that joke.
You just laughed.
Oh, I'm
All
trying not
right.
to.
I gotta have a dad or a corny joke in here. Come on, you know who I am.
Of course, of course.
Now, moving on to the semi prospect league, we have the Melons taking on the Minotaurs, or the Minotaurs, the Minotaurs, however you want to pronounce it.
Minnow.
Minnow. Yeah, Minotaurs. So, Bubbly, would you please explain to me how the Minotaurs got to the grand finals?
Well, they came in as a pretty low seed too. They came in as the 7th seed, had to go in the play-in tournament, and they barely eked out a win against Hypernova, which, they kept their 7th seed, but it wasn't very convincing. Then they came out in the quarterfinals and absolutely smacked around the Bandits, who were the 2 seed, which was like, wow, Minotaurs are back on the radar. They're back to a playoff contending team like we were talking about at the very start of the season with Rogue's draft. And then the semifinal match today, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really watch it, but I'm not entirely sure how that one ended in a sweep for Minotaurs based on how Vipers have been looking.
Yeah, I think the Vipers, they were a decent team all season. They were never not weak. I don't think they were the strongest, but they were definitely a solid roster overall. For them, the Minotaurs to actually sweep them, I think it shows that they are a team to be watchful. Granted they make the grand finals, so you gotta be careful of them. No matter what. If you make it to the grand finals, you have to be a decent team, no matter how you got there. So on the other side of the bracket, Bubbly, for the Melons, they were the 1 seed. They swept Velocity in the first round, and in the semifinals tonight, they beat Gladiators in a 4-2 fashion. A lot of people thought once Speed traded for Yu-Gi-Oh and got Mary on the team, a lot of people thought they were going to win it all. They were heavy favorites.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh,
It's
he was with
Yukio.
whatever. I say
Oh no.
Yu-Gi-Oh, like that card. Yeah, the card game Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Isn't that what
I'm
it's
so
called?
disappointed in you. How do you not know Yukio as a fan of Prospect?
I don't know. I don't. I'm gonna call. Okay, I'll call him OG because that's also in his name.
There you go.
OG Yagya. Yeah, they traded for him, and he was in your org. He was with the Rooks earlier in the season. Then you traded, and I truly think you won that trade. Just to be clear, as a GM, the GM, I do think you won 4 picks. It's pretty heavy. I know I wanted him on the Flurry roster myself, and Speed just overpaid for him personally.
Look.
But
A
I
lot of
truly,
people, a
all
lot of
right.
people are saying that I got the better end of the deal, blah blah blah. But honestly, like even watching that match, that looked like the grand finals match to me. Like I truly think that Yukio going to Gladiators, he gave them like the best shot they possibly could have had to make it to grand finals, to win grand finals. When they started out after that trade, they had to win out to even get to where they were. And Yukio gave them that shot. They won out. They made playoffs at a good seed. And they had a really competitive series against Melons. So
No, I agree with you that it gave him the best shot at winning. So I mean, the overpay it could be worth it, but in foresight, we can say it wasn't worth it as they have fallen short in the semis.
in hindsight,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I meant. I've had a long day, all right?
All
Very long
right.
day. I'm running on a couple hours of sleep, college, work, whatever. I'm running on, fumes here. Give me a
Drink
little
some
bit of a
coffee.
break. I never drank coffee in my life, and trust me, I don't want to deal with coffee. You already got swept by Blizzard early, Monday. Ooh, my bad. Shots
Ooh,
fired. Anyways,
ouch.
what is your prediction, Mr. Bubbly Reaper, on the Melons Minotaurs Grand Finals?
This is going to be my big hot take because I really think melons are just in another class than minotaurs. Where, minotaurs, I think they might have had a little bit easier run to get to the finals. Not to discredit them, that Bandits win, that one was the really big one for me. But I still don't think they take a game off of melons if melons are playing their game.
Ooh,
So I go melons 4-0 minotaurs.
ooh, I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Bubbly. Since the very start, before the draft even happened, you had Rogue on that roster, and he didn't even play for most of that season. Well, this season, because he had computer issues and such. So just to think if he had a working computer all season, I
Yeah.
think they're a dangerous roster overall. Like,
You know who had a working computer all season?
who?
All of the melons.
That is true. And
Rogue
they are
had
the
to
one
take
seed.
over a month off.
Yeah,
Do you know what that does to a player?
it
Taking
definitely
a
messes them up.
12th of the year off from playing anything, not just Rocket League, but like your whole reactions, they're all shot. Your mechanics, your game sense, it's all gone.
Right, but then they made it to grand finals. So,
Yeah,
I mean, you gotta give them something. But I got the Minotaurs winning in 6. I think they're overall solid roster. I think Snazzy and Rogue will carry for the most part. I just think they're the best 2 prospects, honestly. I think Snazzy's definitely up there. I mean, you can't say on the other side like, oh, Midnight isn't good. I mean, he is good. I just feel like the Minotaurs are just better. So I got Minotaurs in 6, Mr. Bubbly.
I couldn't disagree more. I know I'm the first one to tell you how much I absolutely hate everybody on Melons who says, "Oh yeah, Jimmy solos everybody. Jimmy's the best prospect. Alex is so good. He solos everybody. Midnight's peaking." Like I absolutely hate every time they talk about any of their own players because they just have such an ego to it. But then they keep winning. So I don't know. I can't
I,
argue with the results.
See, I have to be against the Melons also because they're division rivals in the first place. I don't like the Fruit org. I look at them as just a rival org in general. Like, I hate them with a passion. But I can say that we swept them this season, the org sweep. But besides the point, I got Minotaurs in 6. You have Melons at 4. Let's move on to the next league, which is the Challenger League, Mr. Bubbly. And you know what? I'll talk about this team first, and I'll let you talk about your bishops in a second. So the Raptors coming in as the 5 seed was in a crazy division with Ascension there with them, and also who's the other team that was in their division? I'm trying to think, top of my head. Uh, wasn't it Bishops?
What are you asking?
It was in the Ascension Raptors division.
Ascension, Wraiths,
Oh, Wraith.
Raptors,
That's who
Orbit.
it was. Wraith. That was a heavy division. That's my bad. I just came out of my couldn't think of it. That was a really heavy
Alrighty.
division, and I truly think that one of those three teams were going to win it all. Saying that though, I knew Ascension, even though as a 1 seed, I don't think they were going to win. I had
True.
him.
True.
I had Drake's beating them in the match one.
True. Thank
So
you. Thank you. Me too.
yeah, I had Drake's actually winning against Ascension. I don't think Ascension was a true 1 seed. They just, I mean, I think they're a decent team. But then you have pre-jump Jaegers. I mean, I'm not saying any of the players are bad. I definitely think Murley is the best person on that roster, Mr. Big Mur himself. Um, but on the other thing of the Raptors, they had to play against Venom in the first round. They won in a 4-2 fashion. Then in the semis, they swept Ascension right out of the playoffs. And before playoffs even started, my bracket prediction was having Raptors winning it all against, I believe it was the Flame roster, but I had high hopes for Bishops also because I remember saying a couple weeks ago that I had faith in Bishops. Bubbly, I did.
Yeah.
I do have faith. I did. I do think the Bishops are they are underrated team all season. I do think that. But saying against that here in the grand finals, Raptors made it here, beating against Ascension and Venom. So I do think they had an easier run as Bishops. I mean, they got a forfeit win in the first game. Not to say that they wouldn't have won anyways or lost. They did get a forfeit win. I mean, you can't really say like, oh, they killed them. I mean, they didn't play.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, Bishop's Flame series, they did play 4 games and it went 2-2. And I think either team could have won. And that's why when I, as the GM, got the chance, we're like, hey, you have the right to take the forfeit win. Do you want to take the forfeit win or reschedule? I don't think any other GM can blame me for wanting to take the forfeit win in a close series. I
I don't blame
respect,
you. It's playoffs.
yeah, I respect Flame a lot. All their players were really understanding, which has been a great change from previous seasons. So big shout out to Isaac, big shout out to Kyle, big shout out to Fakey. And you know, I think either one of those teams, whichever one of them won, would have been facing Raptors in the final. So
Yeah, Bishops had an interesting run all season, probably. And in the semis they beat Motion 4-1 in a basically demanding fashion tonight. So that leads us to the grand finals, Raptors versus Bishops. I already know who you're picking. So how many games are you thinking the Bishops are gonna win it all in?
uh you know, it's tough because I don't think Raptors are as good as everyone thinks they are. So I think they're one of the most predictable challenger teams in how they play, but they're very good in what they do when they're predicting it. So I think the Bishops got it figured out. I'm confident they can win, but Fort likes to mess around, maybe throw a game or two, just to make it close for the fans. So I'm gonna say 4-2. 4-2 Bishops.
You know, I have to agree with you on that. I do think 4-2 will be the line, but I'm gonna go in the Raptors direction. I think that Cottony is very good, especially with Ibonic. Ibonic was with me last season, and I do think Raptors are truly the better team overall. I just I like the Bishops. I told you that, Bubbly. I just don't think they have what it takes to beat the Raptors, and I think it's going to be out of 6 games,
Who's the third on the
5 or 6.
6? Though?
Yeah, it's going to be 6 games. I'm sorry.
Who's the third player on the Raptors though?
Well,
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 because that's the biggest question mark for me. Like everyone knows Cotney's good, everyone knows Abonic's good, but
who do they go
Raptors,
with? Yeah.
they're a two-man team, and I don't think that can win in the grand finals. That would break my heart if a two-man
Well,
team won, you know?
I wish you the best of luck, though, Mr. Bubbly.
Thank
And
you, thank you.
let's move on to rival. We're getting closer and closer to your home domain up in Titan, so we're getting there.
Yes, yes.
So I'm gonna start with Hydra.
Okay.
17-1 regular season record.
Yep.
The only loss was from my team, Whiteout. I was
And then they
very
got white out first round.
yeah, they did. Whiteout had to come from the play-in bracket. They made it out, and they played Hydra first round, and I thought they had it, but it went to 7 in Hydra's direction. I was so mad. Oh, but Hydra is a good team, and they also went to 7 against a rival in a reverse sweep. I'm
In a
so happy they
reverse
won
sweep.
because they were egoing me so much, and I said to them, I was like, guys, on arrival, you didn't even have a 500 record. You didn't even deserve the 4 seed. Like, come on.
I
That's a playing
mean,
team.
but Foam is their best player on arrival, right? That's not disputed. And he didn't play over half the matches. So maybe the 4 seed was a little high for arrival, but I still think they were like the second or third best team in rival.
I can't agree with that. I I just
They
can't.
took the first three off of Hydra. We saw it. We saw it on stream. Hydra
Right,
had the
but
reverse sweep because Arrival won the first
right,
three.
but what does that tell them if they got a reverse sweep in a game in a seven best of 7? What does that tell you?
That their mental is shocked, which I don't think was ever a question. Arrival was always on a knife's edge whether they would be able to finish out a series, work together as a team,
Yeah, I'm
and
just glad that they're not in the grand finals because I don't think they deserve to be in the grand finals. Nonetheless, Hydra making it in 2 game 7s here, winning against Whiteout and an Arrival. And on the other side of things, we're gonna go with the KN team, which I would never think this day would happen.
oh, that's
But
given a lot of hate towards KN. KN's been one of the best GMs. He builds a community around all his teams and players that I really love how he handles being GM as an org. Even if he's a little childish sometimes, makes a lot of split decisions. He's just a very friendly guy, and in a world of GMs like you and Rockerman or Cutthroat, I can appreciate a GM like that.
hey, it's all about how you run it, right?
Yep.
So, would you like to talk about how they made it to the grand finals, Mr. Bubbly?
I mean, I could, but to be honest, I didn't really follow it that closely because I was much, much more interested in the top side of the rival bracket, where
Yeah.
I think Hydra Whiteout Arrival Knights, those were like whoever won out of those 4 teams is winning the grand finals, in my opinion.
See,
Because,
there were sorry to cut you off, but there
no,
was a
go ahead.
trend on most of these brackets here in every league. Everybody was calling like the bottom bracket the Mickey Mouse bracket in a lot of leagues, which I kind of agree.
No shot.
Yeah,
The
people have been calling brackets like for Titan, for example. I mean, nothing against you, Bubbly, but everybody like for example, everybody's saying, oh, the bottom bracket's a Mickey Mouse bracket compared to the top. We'll get to that in a minute, but that's just an example. So
and rival, I agree. But you look at Challenger, where I think Flame and Bishops on the bottom both had a solid shot to win grand finals. Look at Bandits
not
Minotaurs,
every
they both
league.
had
I'm
a
just saying a
solid
couple
shot.
leagues.
I think Whelps, Ninjas, and Frost were like the top three novice teams, other than Ignite, and they were all on the bottom. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a tough call. But
right. Yeah,
back to rival. Back to rival. Can't keep going off track like this.
beer all night.
Distortion, they got the 8 seed and they lost in the first round of the play-in tournament. Or no, they won in the first round of the play-in tournament to get the 7 seed. They surprised a lot of people by beating Pineapples because, from what I heard at least, Pineapples weren't a great second seed, but Distortion was definitely not up to the task of beating them. And then they went ahead and beat them. Where, you know, not quite sure how that happened. I didn't watch that one either, but then in the semifinals, Distortion against Blaze, Distortion was definitely the better team than Blaze. So they got the nod to go to the grand finals and lose to Hydra, but I don't know how much that's saying.
Yeah, I think we can both agree that well, Hydra's probably gonna win it all. They're just too good. What's your prediction, Bubbly, for Hydra winning?
Uh, well, so far I got 4-2. I got 4-2, right? And a 4-0.
Yeah,
I think we'll go 4-1 for Hydra. We'll give Distortion a game for Mayo to throw, just like he did against a rival for a while.
I can agree. I do think it's gonna be more, Hydra as their very dominating team with Seabiscuit. See, I can't even talk Seabiscuit. The carry of that, Hydra team
No,
by
he
far,
is
by far,
not the
by far.
carry. No, Dan, you
I,
can't make jokes like that. The people don't understand your jokes.
Glad you understood. Nah, Seabiscuit, I love you though. um, I just think Hydra's too good. I give Hydra a sweep in the grand finals.
Yeah,
I do. I think Hydra's gonna take it all.
if I trusted them to come out hot, I would agree with you. But how slow they started against Whiteout, how slow they started against a rival. I think there's no way they don't give up a game. But we'll
I
have
think
to
it's gonna
see.
be on the 4-5 side though. I do.
Yeah,
Anyways, Bubbly, well, we're gonna head to your domain now. Up in the Titan League, the
my
peak
domain.
of Nemesis, the good of the good, even though some people are really bad up in Titan. Uh, that's to be true. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll let you go first, talking about ye old Pinnacle.
I get to talk through Pinnacle's run.
You do get to
Well,
talk through Pinnacle's run.
at the start of the season, after the draft, everyone saw Deluxe Insanity on a team, and they were like, this team is good. This is a grand finals team. And then the season came around, and all the teams played each other. Everyone saw Pinnacle, and they were like, yeah, this team is like middle of the pack. This is an okay team. But then the playoffs came around, and they snuck a win out over Vanguard, which was a little bit of a surprise to everybody. Then they snuck a win out over Spartans, which was a little more expected because not many people liked Spartans, but it was still Pinnacle. And then semifinals against Venganza, and Venganza just doesn't show up at all. Like, nobody to be found. And Pinnacle gets kind of a free win. And so we're sitting with Pinnacle in the grand finals, and I think the popular opinion is that they're still just like an okay playoff team, where it's a little surprising they got here.
No, I didn't expect Pinnacle to make it this far. I'll be honest with you, and I agree with you as well. So Pinnacle, Rocket Man's Oric, and we'll get to this in a second, but I do think they're a decent roster. I mean, credit Insanity was on Reapers last season. I don't think he played in the grand finals though against Blizzard. And as we know by now, Blizzard swept them in the grand finals last season. Which I mean, personally, I was happy because it's my team. Other people they wanted to see some content. But overall, Pinnacle this season, I do think they were a middle pack team because you had your Krakens, you had your Blizzard, you had your Nebula, and even yourself, Grandmasters. People didn't expect you guys to do that good. I don't think, Bubbly.
Yeah, I don't think many people did, but we started out this season as supposed to be a meme team, but then we started beating everyone. We are like, huh, maybe we should like try and split it
Try.
out. But then every time we played Venganza, we just couldn't beat them. We were 0-3 against Venganza this season, which
That is unfortunate.
I think we're 0-4 actually. So, you know, it happens. Some teams, some playstyles just can't beat. But I just wish Venganza would have shown up against Pinnacle in the semifinals, because I think even after watching it, Venganza's still the better team and would have made a much better grand finals than Blizzard Pinnacle. But, you know, that's okay. We'll have to see on Saturday if Pinnacle makes a good match. But on the other side of the grand finals bracket is your Blizzard team.
Yeah, I love Blizzard. They're going for the three-peat. I love them so much. They're just my child. First off, they got a forfeit win against Nebula. I don't know what happened. I wasn't even a part of it. I didn't even tell them to call the forfeit because I was at work. So, I mean, I guess they won against Nebula. I think that was gonna be a close series if Nebula, well, showed up. Uh, I still think Blizzard was gonna win it though. And then you have, in my opinion, the grand finals and the semifinals. Krakens versus Blizzard, which I was surprised Krakens went to Game 7 against Vanguard. Um, that was really crazy. And Krakens, as the undefeated team, having dropped a single series all season long, play against this Blizzard roster that they beat twice in the regular season. But
Yep.
hey, it doesn't matter at this point if you beat them or not. You're here now against them. And Krakens, they kind of choked, and I don't think Mr. Kuda was very happy about it, and I think he was starting to mold a little bit on the pitch. I don't think personally, like mentally, he was like prepared as much as he thought he was gonna be. Because I feel like after they dropped the first two games, they were really struggling because they didn't even take their timeout until
I
the
mean,
game three.
timeouts and timeouts in Titan aren't super popular. I know Goff is a proponent of it, and I don't know many other people that are honestly. Where like it's kind of nice to have a mental break, but most people just like they want to play, they want to like get back into the games and figure it out on the pitch. Where Kraken's like I don't know that they had the mental fortitude to, once they started losing and like, oh hey, we might actually lose instead of against Vanguard where they were up and they probably should have just closed the series out after 4 games, but they did a little too much trolling. So like, oh, we're winning easily. We can like have some fun. But then they lose a couple games to Blizzard and like there is no response. Like you've been winning all season and you just can't come back from that
Yeah.
because you just don't know how. Haven't had practice doing it.
Right. They were never really down in a series before. They never lost before. And that's personally I think a bad thing to go undefeated. Sure, everybody's be like, "Oh my god, they went 18-0 or whatever." But come playoff time, it's a different beast. And if you're down a game or two, it's going to be hard because you're not used to that position.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's I just don't think as soon as Krakens I believe lost the second game, I thought to myself, well, I think Blizzard's good enough to win the series. And also the Kraken's team never faced this before as we were talking about. They haven't been in a position to lose all season for the most part. So, then Blizzard they just swept Krakens, which surprising that surprised me too. Like as Krakens as like I said undefeated, you would think they would at least take a game or two. But unfortunately, they did not. And Blizzard's walking to the grand finals, and we are getting a season 5 rematch, bubbly, of Blizzard versus Pinnacle. And last time this happened, Blizzard won in 7.
I
So I'm gonna
mean,
throw it back to you. Who do you
you
got?
you say season 5 rematch, and I'm just laughing because
Team
Blizzard,
name wise.
team name wise, I suppose. Well, Blizzard, this season 5, they were the Krakens in season 5 and in season 6, where everyone knew they were the favorites to win. Like they're the ones you got to beat, and this season they were still like, hey, it's between like them and Krakens for like who's the best team. So they're still coming in as a pretty hot favorite, even though they have Zin instead of Soares. And facing against Pinnacle, who we talked it through, and we're both on the same page that they're just like they're an okay playoff team, where I don't think Pinnacle has a chance. Like Deluxe is a very good player. Insanity is a very difficult player to read, but you know, when Blizzard comes out with Max and Toxic, who are just better at outplaying, they're better at being unpredictable on offense, and they're really solid on defense, I'm not sure how much impact Insanity is going to have. And then Edwin out there, the third on Pinnacle, he started out this season as a rival player until they adjusted his MMR up to barely be in Titan League. Where, don't get me wrong, I love Edwin. I think he deserves a championship win, grand finals win. But I think this is basically a Hydra versus Distortion matchup where I don't know if Pinnacle has a shot at even more than one game. So I'm going to go 4-0. Repeat Titan sweeps and grand finals.
I love you so much for saying that, Bubbly. The three-peat is very much in reach. I mean, I have to go with Blizzard as well. I just can't. Like, I can't go against Blizzard. They have been proven champions time and time again. The only change to this roster is Soars because he was too high of an MMR. So we got Zen, which he's also proven to be a good player in Titan. As, I mean, a fun fact, Zenvez was on the Pinnacle roster in Season 5, which Blizzard beat them. He was also on the Reapers roster in Season 6 when Blizzard beat them. So he would like to be on the Blizzard side of things and actually winning a chip for once. So I have Blizzard in 5. I think Pinnacle's going to take a game. What are your thoughts on that, Bubbly?
My thoughts are I'm wondering how you think Blizzard sweeps Krakens and Blizzard doesn't sweep Pinnacle.
Because they're going to throw a game.
Oh, you're gonna make a game 5 at least just for
But
some extra
Toxic did say
content?
it in his interview that they don't want to drop a single game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did say that after his win against Krakens. He did mention that he didn't want to lose a single game. I still think they're going to throw a game. I know my team too much. I think they're going to throw a game, but I think they're going to win the first 3 and then throw game 4, or lose game 1 and reverse. Well, gentleman sweep.
There you go.
But I got Blizzard with a 3-peat. The dynasty will continue up in the Titan League. I love it so much, and I feel like they're going to nerf Blizzard even more by next season,
We'll
which is
see. We'll see.
unfortunate. Um, but on that note, Bubbly, I would like to thank you for joining me for this last podcast here before the grand finals is over. And do you have any final thoughts for the season 7 in general? How the playoffs been going? Just how are you doing personally? Just anything. Go ahead.
I mean, there's been a lot of people complaining about especially the seeding for all the playoffs, but I genuinely think it's led to a lot of great matchups in the playoffs where like you talked about it a little bit, but like Ignite barely got into playoffs and down in the novice league because of how the rules work with the conferences and they needed to have a team from their conference. And all of a sudden, we're both agreeing that they're the favorites in the grand finals for that league, where rule change wouldn't have let us get that.
It's
So
true.
we agreed on Ignite winning, we agreed on Hydra winning, and we agreed on Blizzard winning. With I kind of have to root for my team Bishops and Challenger
Yeah,
against
I
Sea
get that. I
Raptors,
get that.
and the prospect. I'm very surprised that you're going with Minotaurs over Melons, but just based on recent performance. But other than that, season 7 has been great from all the players and teams. I've loved the playoff format. I've loved the regular season, and we'll see if Chess Hall can get its first ever grand finals win.
Yeah. Oh, that Charlie
And
matchup is. Sorry to cut you off. That whoever wins that first Charlie game will be the first for their org.
yeah,
That's gonna be fun. Sorry. Go ahead. Continue. And
well, the difference is Chess Hall has been around since season 1, and the Raptors have not. So
if I remember, aren't they the rebranded Wildcats org?
I honestly don't remember. But I think this is their
Ah,
first season, right? In Nemesis?
as an org, as the
As the org with these team names.
yes,
Yeah.
with Boy
So
Wonder, I believe is the GM.
he got removed. So it's Squirrel.
Oh, my bad, Squirrel. I knew they had changed. Oh, anyway, you still gotta give Boy
Anyway,
Wonder a little bit of credit.
Ah,
It's a little bit. It's a little bit.
50-50.
Yeah, okay, I'll give it to him because Score didn't really do much with that team. He kind of just here's the team. There you go.
But
He didn't make any
anyway,
changes to it.
what are your final thoughts, Stan? Anything we talked about, any of the leagues, and how you're feeling?
My final thoughts of season 7. I do think it was a good season. It was the biggest season that we've ever had, which it was. I wish it was actually a little bit more competitive. I feel like in some
You
leagues there was clear cut top teams. I don't like that, even if it's my own team. I just wish it was a little bit more competitive in a sense of the like your Kraken's 18-0. Okay, like that's a good team. Don't get me wrong. I just wish it was like a little bit clumped together. You know what I mean?
mean,
A little bit more, just a little bit more. Because then you had Hydra 17-1. You know, you had Ascension. I believe they were like 15-3. I mean, Chally was a little bit closer. Prospect, it was still kind of closer, and then Novice was probably the closest of them all. But I, I just feel like there was clear cut top teams. I mean, there always is, and there always will be. But you have like 2 or 3 teams, but not like 4 or 5 or even 6 teams that you're like, oh my god, they can be the 1 seed or they're the top team. You don't really hear that unless they're either biased because it's their own team. So my thoughts are that. I don't know what you think about that. That's just my opinion of it. Um,
you're allowed to have your opinions. Just
it might be
opinions are
wrong.
wrong,
Yeah.
you know?
I,
Where the only one I'd agree is in Rival. I think Hydra did not have any competition. Where, Titan, I think everybody's everybody with 2K level players, 1900 players, anyone can beat anybody on any day. Or Hydra, you know, they had 4-3 series in quarterfinals and semifinals, but I still think they're the clear favorites, not even close. And basically every other league I think had at least 4 or 5 teams that I could say, yeah, they could win grand finals. I could see that, you know?
I get you. And I don't know. I just feel like overall this season to me was kind of weird in a sense. I don't know. It didn't really feel like a season that we've had before. I mean, I didn't hate
In
it.
what way?
I I don't know. It's weird. I just felt detached from the community personally, and I've been a part of it for a little while now. I mean, that's just my personal thing. It might just be me. It's whatever though.
Yeah.
um, I think it was still a good season, and I think that's all I got. So, Bubbly, I would like to thank you for joining me on this podcast. I love your presence, and I think you're a good guy. And
Thank you.
thank
Thank you.
you. Thanks, Glaze, for recording. I don't know if we can hear you or not in the skies above. uh,
We
dang,
can't hear you on the
they can't hear
recording.
you on the recording. That's kind of sad. But thank you guys for watching this podcast. Please leave any comments or anything that you would like us to try for next season if we're still here. Hopefully, we are. Uh, all for now. And I wish everybody the best of luck in the grand finals, except for Pinnacle. And we'll see you guys next time.